Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Facilities Committee meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order. We're going to change the agenda around a little bit today. We're going to go into closed session first. So I need a motion to go into closed session to consult with our attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged pursuant to NCGS 143-318.11A3. And to establish or to instruct the public body staff or negotiating agents concerning the position to be taken by or on behalf of the public body in negotiating, one, the price and other material terms of a contract or proposed contract for the acquisition of real property by purchase, option, exchange, or lease, or two, the amount of compensation and other material terms of an employment contract or proposed employment contract pursuant to NCGS 143-318.11A5.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
We're giving Ms. Hunter, we're good.
Okay, we're back in open session. I need an approval of the agenda. I'd like to add one item to the bottom of the agenda, which is request from the Student Realignment Citizens Advisory Committee based upon their meeting last night.
Ms. Hunkill, I'd like to add an update from the Safety Committee and a follow-up with the Board of Commissioners about the bi-directional transmitters for the 15 schools that the county is paying for. Just to let y'all know what's going on.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Okay. The first thing is the transportation project design changes update. Mr. Burnett.
Thank you. As you recall, we've discussed various changes to the transportation facility to try to get that back into budget. The estimate that we had from the previous design was $14.1 million. The construction portion of the budget for the transportation facility is $10.4 million. And just a clarification. Just a clarification on that budget. There's a portion for the new transportation building, and then there's a component for the Venus Road renovation, and that was $658,000. So the $10.4 million does not include the Venus Street improvements. As we made the changes that we've discussed in the past, that was deleting the paint bay, deleting the body shop bays, combining the engine wash and the bus wash into the same bay. Of course, we'll be designing the drainage to be separate, and co-locating the tire storage bays. The estimate, which is based off the square foot cost, was $12.5 million. So closer, but still not there. As we've discussed, we've had some bid alternates that we're planning to include, and that is the deletion of 4 work bays. So the way that works is we'll get a bid for the base bid, and then we'll get some deletion bids, and that's the deletion of 4 work bays is estimated to be $1.3 million. Deletion of the bus wash and the engine wash or chassis wash is $822,000. And the estimate for the standalone equipment shelter is $209,000. Changing asphalt to gravel at the staff parking lot is $43,000. So that's an estimated savings of $2.4 million, or estimated deductions or cuts. That gets you to a bid that you would actually be able to approve should we not be able to find additional funding for the project. And so that's a goal that we always have, to be able to get something that can be awarded. So a couple of things to note on this. Of course, the transportation department would rather us not have any cuts. They would like to have the project as originally scoped, and that's all very understandable. We did look at the formulas that NCDPI has, and I want to clarify that the way that they phrase that is they say some planning sources recommend as a minimum that a maintenance bay be provided for each 25 to 30 buses that are being used on the active bus routes. So you have to, we also have additional buses, activity buses and spare buses. You have to assume that that's all, figured into that number. And so our active bus routes, bus number of buses is 292. If you look at that formula, 12 bays accommodates 300 to 360 buses. 16 bays accommodates 400 to 480 buses. So again, 292 buses on the active routes. you look at all the buses, we're in the neighborhood of about 380 buses. And so that's that's where we are at the moment.
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
When we do the rough grading and construction, can we leave the area the county was to take off and grow again, that we needed more bays? Can we designate that as a do not disturb zone with maybe just parking there on where we would add the extra bays?
So a couple things, and that's a great point on future. So the future enrollment forecast from McKibben shows a declining enrollment. That probably translates to declining number of buses unless we're more inefficient with our busing. So that's one point. We would expect that the enrollment is going to drop and that the number of buses would drop. The location of the bays is actually interior. In your information, you should have a floor plan, and you'll see that the bays are actually sandwiched in between the administration on one end, and then some of the support facilities on the other end, as far as the tire shop and the bus, the engine wash and bus wash and those type facilities. So that makes it very challenging. Certainly, and that's also one of the reasons why the bus wash is shown as a bid alternate. So that's just one of the challenges with that.
Well, let me ask something. Why? All right, you've got administration and what? What's the other one?
So administration is on the right side of the sheet. On the left side of the sheet is some of the support spaces, such as
Support
the bus washing.
space. There would be no problem. Why not put support next to administration? And if administration wants to go in the garage, all they've got to do is walk through a hallway and support. And that leaves one whole end of the building open to add on to it.
Yeah, probably because of the mess associated with the bus wash and just how wet that is. That's just my guess. I wasn't involved in
But wait a minute, the what?
region. As far as the bus wash, all the water that's associated with that.
But it would be on the other end of the building if we ever added it. We're deleting it, yes.
As a bid alternate, and we don't want to delete the bus wash.
Why is it part of the estimated savings?
Those are part of the cuts, right? Some of the options, yeah. And we don't want to delete that. That's something that is integral, to the operation. But
That is how we meet the budget.
that's how you meet the budget.
Okay, so
Yeah, and again, we're trying to offer something to you that you can award. What we don't want to do is to be looking at a number and we can't do anything about
Well, it
it.
would seem like to me that the bus wash bay, if it's ever built, would need to be in a part of the building where nobody had to go to it.
That's why it's on the end.
Which end?
It's on the opposite end from the administration.
Right there. I see that now.
Yeah, there's the administration stuff.
Well,
but if we found money in our budget somewhere within the bond, we would want to do the special.
We definitely would.
And what about the gravel, the asphalt for the parking lot? I assume it's better to have asphalt.
Especially at the staff parking lot, yes.
well, are we still paving the bus parking lot?
The bus parking lot, so we'll have an area we're going to call bus storage. That's not paved. It's not shown to be paved, and it's just gravel. And we're going through reviews with the city and the county to get their initial responses on that to make sure that can be gravel. If it's paved, if they require it to be paved, that's an additional cost to us. It's going the wrong way on our budget.
Well, I'm sure we're all aware, if you've traveled rural roads, the state has reverted to a way that cuts the paving cost by 3/4. This new tar and thin rock.
Slurry pavement.
Sir,
A slurry pavement.
a slurry pavement. And they say it lasts twice as long and costs 25% of what asphalt does. Now, it's rough on tires, but they roll it too. And
You still have a base though.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. If we go with a base just a base everywhere with, if zoning permits a gravel parking lot, let's go with that. And if we ever want to update it, it don't have to be 2 inches, 8 inches of base and 2 inches. Well, we're going to put 8 inches of base down. We can go with the slurry pavement and save a tremendous amount of money.
That's something we can look at.
Because that's not high traffic, that's parking.
And
And there'll be no heavy trucks on there either.
Well, it's buses, so it would be heavy duty, pavement design.
Buses are under 26,000, Dave.
Well, it's,
I'm talking about 80,000-pound trucks.
okay.
They're the ones that destroy the roads. Okay.
Are there any other questions, concerns, issues? I think we have to recommend, make a motion to recommend this to the full board for approval like we've done in the past, since this is a change to the original schematic, which we didn't approve, which was approved back in 2009.
Well, I'm a little bit confused. What are we gonna recommend? Because he's saying they want the bus wash, but what was presented to us was deleting the bus wash. So what are we recommending to the full
He said he was
board?
going to
Yeah.
make it an alternate,
Right,
right?
those are bid
Alternate
alternates. So the contractor will bid the base bid, which will have all of these items in it. Then he will provide separate pricing that says if we want to take it out, we'll know what that cost is, and that's in a bid environment.
Okay, I had spoke with Marlon the other day that I do think the bus wash is important. And everything to do with mechanics inside. What concerns me is the type of building that we're going to build there. A metal building that's properly insulated versus an aesthetically beautiful building. This is a bus garage. It don't have to have brick or whatever.
Right.
It can have metal siding. I
Yeah.
think if we go out there and build anything above a metal building, we're going to catch flack for not being prudent with taxpayer dollars.
Right.
Except
when
there
they-
are offices, part of this is.
But the offices at our current facility have preformed concrete walls as exterior walls.
I just wanted to clarify if you wanted that being done.
Yeah, so basically we have two construction types. So the bus bays and everything other than the offices is going to be basically the pre-engineered metal building. We will have a brick veneer up to a specific height, and that's being reviewed to make sure that, again, it's going to be in compliance with any zoning requirements and things like that. We will have the minimum amount, and we do want, again, to a specific height, the 4 feet or something like that. It's not a brick veneer all the way up to the top. We'll have bollards at the entrances to protect those frames. The administration area will be more conventional construction, and again, it's not. It's
It'll
not
be metal
anything
studs,
fancy.
drywall.
Yeah.
And if brick veneer on that, I don't have no problem with that versus metal, as long as it's metal studs, drywall, and brick veneer.
Yeah.
And another thing that may be looking at $400,000, and I think this is the proper place to mention it, and keeping up with the flow of the river at County Commission, they're looking at doing an industrial park, and they're looking at several spots. And one of the spots high on their list is Gold Mine Road corridor. So, we had looked at tapping on the Union County sewer, but it's too far away. Well, after meeting with the city of Monroe and them showing us that 300 acres flow to us, would be gravity flowing to us, I have conveyed that to some of the county commissioners, and they may be interested in putting their pump station for their whole industrial park on our property, which would save us. Now, this would be not going to the city, and I'm not saying let's back away from that deal. But if we can, the county may say, that would be a great location for us to put our industrial park pump station. So I would ask staff and Dr. Houlihan to direct staff, let's get that on the fast track and find out if they're really serious about doing their industrial park there. Because if they do, the first thing we could they don't have to acquire pump station property. It would be on our site. And second, it would save us, how much are we estimating for the boring and pump station? Wasn't that about 450?
So we didn't have a pump station. We were going to
I
have
mean,
gravity
the
flow.
bore and all that. Wasn't that about 450?
David was confirming your number.
Yeah. So if we could get that gratis, then maybe we could add the wash bay.
Where are we with this discussions on that?
Nowhere.
So the sewer, we've had discussions with the city. We know where we would be tying in. We are working with the city as far as one particular location where we're trying to get agreement that we could go with basically an asymmetrical right-of-way access area so that we didn't have to acquire additional property. And I'm talking about very little property. They seem to be agreeable to that. Any change on that? Okay.
And if we,
So that's where we are. We're right now waiting on engineering and surveying to get the final meets and bounds that we'll be able to pursue the property acquisition, right-of-way acquisition.
and I might point out that if the county was to say, we want to put our pump station there, there would be no acquisition required. And then another thing that I hadn't heard mentioned in open session from our meeting with the city, that property's not zoned properly yet. We've got to go before the county to get it zoned to do a garage.
So right now in the county, it's zoned light industrial.
It is special use. Well, it seems like to me we need to go ahead and start the special use application.
Yeah, what we're actually doing is we're going down two paths. One is with the city, one is with the county. We've asked the city to review our drawings to make us aware of any conflicts, that the drawings have. And if it was something that would require additional costs, such as, like the brick veneer that I mentioned, or such as paving, in particular areas, we want to get those identified so we can find out what it costs to be annexed into the city versus if we went the same route, with the county, what kind of heads up items that they could help identify. And then we'd see what those items are.
Well, isn't it correct? The city will not allow gravel parking.
Well, so that's one thing. Again, we had a discussion with the city. And we have to go through that review process and we'll see what they say. When we look at the bus parking lot, what if we would be looking at bus storage. And if that is a term, that is agreeable and works with the city, and if that could be gravel, then we're in good shape. And again, we'd have to talk with them about that bid alternate on the staff parking too.
They'll allow gravel for bus storage.
Well, we need to get that confirmed. Then
I
we
started
had
to say because they will not allow gravel for RV storage on my commercial site.
and different zonings and things like that.
Mine's general business.
Okay.
Okay. Could we have that? Or I'm sure you'll get it as soon as we can.
They've got the drawings, and we're waiting on comments. Yeah.
But what I hear Miss Merrill saying, and I agree with this, we're putting pullouts in there where we could get a bid that we may have to scale down, but to stay within our budget. Is that right?
I think so.
Because it's already, even with your numbers today, you're still $500,000 over budget.
Yeah, so 12.5 million. If you subtract the 2.4 million from that, then you're down to 10.1 million. Recall that the furniture and equipment line item in the budget is a $0 number. Of course, the more that we can save, the more that we can be trying to put money into acquiring furniture and equipment for the project.
We don't have any equipment for the transportation facility. We don't have any money in the budget for the transportation.
We don't have any money in the budget for the transportation facility that we're building. So no lifts, no.
So some.
There's no lifts, it's under.
As far as a line item that says furniture and equipment, it is $0. Now, in the construction project, there is going to be some equipment.
Okay,
I mean, we'd have to go through the.
but
the
no
drawings and
office
show.
furniture,
No office
nothing.
furniture, definitely.
Madam Chairman, when I was there yesterday, I did notice that we have portable lifts in the facilities too, don't we? Bus lifts that they actually pull up, hook on the tires and they raise them.
In general, that's where people are going with lifts. You know, if you have the kind that are in the ground, you have to excavate and dig a well, and that's problematic. So most people now are going to the surface lifts. They're easy to roll around, they're mobile, and that's what we would be planning as well.
So with that, the one I saw that had a bus up in the area yesterday, you could take a lift, a truck with a lift, roll them on the lift,
Yeah.
pull them up, pull them on there and transport them.
Yes.
I was
And-
impressed. That's the first time I'd ever seen one like that.
And as long as all that equipment is in good shape and we want to continue to use it, there isn't any reason why we wouldn't relocate it to the new facility.
All right.
Question, so the component for construction was 10.4 something million, so
Yes.
we're going to 12,000,005, so we're roughly 2 million over.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that might be something we would like to talk to the commissioners about at our November 20th meeting. If we could get them to put the pump station there, there'd be the $500,000 that pulled it back to budget.
And we also would be going through an effort of trying to identify additional funding and things like that. So,
Yes, sir. And another thing, they would also, if they've got water on Gold Mine, so if they brought a pump station down our new road, they would also probably bring water. So that would be some savings.
you know, we will talk with the county and see what kind of, how far they've developed that plan and see if they've coordinated with the city.
Now, when you talk with Ms. Cotto, she may not be aware of the conversation that I've had with the commissioners.
Okay.
But they're on board. The ones I've talked to said sounds good, but you know, it's just like everything else.
Okay.
It's got to go through the proper channels.
Right.
Ask and you shall receive.
So, right, you're taking it from 12.5 million that you have, and then if we, without the bid alternatives, it takes it down another $2.4 million
Yes.
to 10.1 million.
Yes.
Okay. Any other?
And if we get some bargain bids, we might be able to add some stuff back in, right?
Oh, certainly. Yeah. We hope that the estimator was the highest bidder,
Okay.
on this and.
Or if we
everything.
come in under budget on other bond projects, we could use that additional funding to add these items back in.
The money for the bonds can go between just the bond projects.
So no, I'm confused. So 12.5 million is what, with other reductions, it would be for the
So-
construction part of
So
the piece,
far
right?
that we've identified so far, that's the paint bay, that's the body shop, that's the co-locating.
So the 10.4 roughly was the original estimate
Was the budget.
budget.
Construction.
So we're 2 million over on the construction
No, but then
budget.
if you back out all the bid alternatives, which equal 2.4 million, and you take the 12.5 and
Right.
subtract the 2.4, it's 10.1. So now you're within the 10,473 that
Okay.
we need to be within.
Yeah, that's the number that.
Okay,
wasn't
okay, because the way it was
provided.
wrote, maybe it
Yeah.
seemed like it was like,
That was my confusion.
okay.
So basically, you have to take the 12.5, subtract out the 2.4, and then we're back to 10.1. They kind of have to do that math on their own.
And just ballpark number for furniture for the admin office area is in the neighborhood of $150,000.
How much?
$150,000.
Just for the admin.
Yes.
So that's not the need for that.
Yes.
What will we do with what we have now, that's working now?
It's possible, that it can be relocated. I've looked at some of it. Some of it is a little bit more, cubicle type furniture. We'll just see where it applies, where it fits, and where it makes sense. That's, yeah, if we just replaced and bought new, it's in the neighborhood of $150,000. Correct.
Yes, so that, yeah, right now that's what zero.
It's zero.
There's no budget.
Okay, any additional questions? If not, I need a recommendation, a motion to recommend this design changes to the full board.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay, proposed CIP changes. With respect to the CIP, we had a conversation last week about getting us at our meetings moving forward from here, updates on all the CIP projects, including timelines and things like that, right? So,
Okay.
okay,
And we can do that right now, if you
Okay,
like.
great.
So on the screen, and he's going to pull over where we are with those projects and actually, you know, Danny, if you want to come on over, certainly to help.
So, as you see, it's a large spreadsheet. Whenever Dave came over, we were able to get some software that puts all of our projects together. Now, what we did for efficiencies is we grouped several projects together. Great, thank you so very much. I'm sorry, small delay. So, as you can see, is that good, Arthur? All right. So you see, we grouped several projects together. Let's just take the first one because this is 6 different pages and the spread, and they just keep going. The projects keep going, but kind of explain it to you what's going on here. As you see up here at the top, you got a calendar, kind of a timeline. This dividing line here is October. This is where we're at. So, for instance, up here, Piedmont High Sewer said we're going to take 57 days to do. 10 days in design, 32 days to bid and award. It's already been completed. As you see, saw the line through the blue up here, where we came through the design, it's 100%, bid and awards 100%, and construction is 100%. So the dashed line in between that light blue means where we are. Down here, for instance, you're 50% on Marvin Ridge Forebay. As far as design, we're having a little trouble getting some qualified engineers in here to design this thing for us. So you'll probably see this calendar, this timeline push out. That's why we have the big draft up here, because it is very fluid. But that's where we are on the projects. And we're going to put this on our facilities webpage. Please keep in mind it is draft and it will change from time to time. But that's kind of the quick and dirty overview. Any specific questions? This does list all of our projects, though.
Well, I would like to ask, where are the Forest Hills projects on there?
Well, there's several. You can scroll down. That's good. I know for instance, I know right off the top of my head, Forest Hills has some flooring projects in there. I forget what else is at Forest Hills right now, but we grouped them together.
Forest Hills has
Media Center flooring, I believe,
Right.
maybe.
That's
All right.
what I was-
repaving of parking lots.
Correct, and we made a paving project group together, so we're not paving at Forest Hills as a project, paving at Piedmont as a project, we're paving together as a project. So,
ADA stuff,
correct.
water fountains.
So the ADAs are a project too. So let's talk about flooring. So flooring, you have a 215-day timeline on this. As you go across over here, you see that you have flooring is over here, and it's about 25% in design. We're not implementing or saying that we're going to actually do this or start until, excuse me. We're not going to, yes, until January is when we're going to start this. But keep in mind, the project end date for construction is 8/10 of 2018, meaning we're going to take the summer to get a majority of those projects done. It just doesn't make sense to move everything out in the middle of winter break, and then try and get everything moved back in. It just interrupts too much. So the summer is the best time for the flooring projects. Shallow's in there too. It's separate because it's a year-round school. We're going to try to do some of that during intercession.
That's very good. I would like to ask, is this accessible now to the public?
It's going to be on the website.
Yes, we wanted to show you all first to see if you liked it, if there's any changes or anything. Again, it's draft, but it'll continue to stay draft, but we'll put a PDF and we'll update this at a regular interval once we have stuff to update.
Just so you guys understand, when we talked about it, they already had this. It just wasn't up on the
Right.
website. So they've updated it now and are going to put it on the website. But this is what they use to track where they are in their project. So
I
it's
thought you
something.
said this was new software since he came on board.
It is, but we had this implemented.
It used to
And
be on the board behind Don Hughes' desk.
Okay.
No, they got the software but it's not like when I asked them last week, they created this. They had already created it.
No.
at that time.
Right, this was done once you all approved and we got the new capital budget July 1. Dave came on board, and then shortly thereafter, I think we had this in place end of July, early August at the latest. So we've had this and been working off of this. But again, we wanted to present it to make sure you all were good with it before we put it out live for everyone.
Board members, when I talked to Ms. Heintel about this, I went up to the Forest Hills media specialist and asked her how her new carpet looked, and she laughed at me. And she said, "What new carpet?" And I said, "Have they not put it in?" She said, "I hadn't heard or seen anything." So this will be great once we get it to them. Because when I say to the public, teachers that are waiting on stuff, they want to know when it's going to happen.
Right. And in that particular example, it would be difficult for Forest Hills to see, that, because we've got that particular one grouped into many different schools, unfortunately. But the rest of the projects, you're correct, yes.
Well, once we get it up, if we can make it where it's easy to read for people like me that are challenged technology-wise, just want to be transparent. Thank you. If you brought this program with you or brought about its creation, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. But certainly that Danny is, owning that document. So
Thank you.
this project, yes.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to say that it was in place prior to me asking them about it. Okay, thanks, Danny. Dave Burnett, the proposed CIP adjustments for Monroe Middle.
So at the last month Facilities Committee meeting, we came to you with the proposal for the architect's contract for Monroe Middle School. And it included some CIP items that were year 4 that we were bringing forward to year 1. And again, we explained that it was for construction sequencing and to reduce the disruption, at the school. And there's a lot of things that happen at Monroe Middle School in the summer. So it's not an easy undertaking to do projects there because they have a lot of camps, a lot of programs going on. If you look at the attachment, you'll see that where we are proposing projects to be moved, and there's projects that we moved from year 4 to year 1 are at the top. And that's the ductwork, it's the fire alarm, and it's the multicom intercom system. I have some footnotes on there, so if you take a look at those, really the main thing I want you to see is that the $695,100 item was $700,000. We simply, just to make this spreadsheet, everything balance, we reduced it by $4,900. Again, that was just an effort for everything to balance. The projects that we're proposing to move 1 year back is at New Salem. It's the auditorium. It's New Salem, the flooring BCT, and at Walter Bickett Education Center, that's the door and window replacement. That's a total of $628,000. Now, you'll see later in the agenda, we have an item coming to you for the Parkwood Stadium. That did come in under budget, and we're proposing to use $72,500 of that item to help with this effort. And the Piedmont High School sewer and manhole repairs, which is already completed, we had savings of $138,600 that we're also proposing to go into this effort. That helps us not move projects back, any other projects.
I have just one question. The first thing that came to my mind when I saw the savings from Piedmont High School, I remember a conversation that we were using some of the money from that savings to add the additional parking spaces by the tennis court, but I never saw how much money we had to use for that gravel parking lot to deduct from the savings you have listed here from the sewer project. So did we ever deduct that amount?
We will confirm where this funds came from. I think that they came from, do you know, Danny?
Local.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. So we didn't tap specifically into the CIP. Yeah.
Okay, because that was the last communication I received, is that we had savings here and could do
Yeah.
parking.
Unfortunately, that parking wasn't, at sometimes it was there was a big effort that we were looking at, and that's when we were trying to identify those kinds of funds, but this was much smaller.
I really would like to just say, I like this layout. It
Okay.
lays it out for us so we can see the deductions and the additions and stuff. I like the format that you put it in.
Okay.
And you don't have an estimate of savings putting all these projects at one time frame? Like, I guess grouping the ductwork at the same time the other work is going on? We don't have a savings estimate, do we, for that?
Like efficiency.
Oh, yeah, efficiency or cost savings, doing all the work together. 'Cause, I mean, the ductwork or the tile is going to be out of the ceiling and.
Yeah, we don't have a number on that as
Okay.
we go through the design effort. Typically, when you get into this type of work, there's unforeseens, that happen, and any kind of savings, goes to take care of those unforeseens.
Mr. Burnett, I would ask you one thing. We had a lot of money this year on sewer and repairs. I believe at Forest Hills also. Before we cut New Salem's stuff out of the budget, can we go ahead and get prices on the things that carry potential savings so that we wouldn't have to do away with New Salem's this year projects?
Identifying where the CIP funds come from to make up for that project from Monroe Middle School project. It's good to do it now. However, we aren't bidding this project now. We're bidding this project later, many months later. So
The
if there is
Forest Hills manhole and sewer stuff.
well, I was specifically as far as Monroe Middle School, there is time if you don't want to designate where this funding comes from now. And if you want to wait and see if there's savings that's realized in other projects, that project or any other project, that's a possibility.
When will this go out to bid? Do you think?
I don't recall.
Okay. Okay. I think that the point that Dennis raises is that if it's money from savings on other 17, 18 projects, we're allowed to, by the county commissioners, to use that money for other overages in the 17, 18 project. If we do this right now, we would have to go to the county commissioners because we're moving projects that are on the 17, 18 list and moving them into the 18, 19 list. We would need their approval to do it. So I think it's good that we've designated what we would need to move if we needed that money, but I agree that we should probably wait closer to when the bids come in to go to the county.
Yeah, that's when you have to have it, is
Right.
when we're going to have that contract and we have to say where all the funding's coming from. That's the drop dead date.
Or would you work your magic and look at where you think there may be savings such as the Parkwood sewer and manhole repairs so that you could come to us with another plan instead of taking away stuff from.
Well, we wouldn't want to project the savings. We would, of course, want to have.
I'm
the
talking
hard
about get
bid.
bids.
Right.
That's what he's saying. So when they go out to bid and we get the bids on this project, on the Monroe Middle project, he'll come back to us at that point in time and say, this is where we have savings from what bids we have and from what projects we're working on right now. And then this is how much it is. And so we won't have to take this and move it to 18, 19. I think that's what he's saying. So he said April, so you're looking at February for bids? Is that what he said? February. So when he comes back in February, he'll know what projects he's gotten savings
Right,
from
so-
at that point in
Right,
time.
exactly.
So today, though, we're not taking New Salem off of
No.
this year.
No.
Okay,
This is just, right, no action for today.
okay.
Question two, moving projects up from like FY19 to FY18, do we have to go to the county commissioners to do that?
What my understanding is that they gave us funding flexibility for was amongst the projects that we have listed on the 17-18 CIP.
Yeah.
So if we have leftover money and we want to move up a project into it, I would assume we have to go and ask them that. They gave us funding flexibility within that we were doing in 17-18.
Okay.
But if anyone disagrees with that, I'm open to other interpretations, but that's. Okay, so we don't have to take any action on this today. Or would you like us to? I mean, when we hired the architects, or when we approved the architects last month and the board approved it, it was with the understanding that we were adding these 3 projects to it. So do you need us to do that again, or are we good to go until?
You don't need to do it again.
Okay.
Only when we are going to award the bid.
Right.
Do we have to have all that nailed down.
Perfect. And then we'll have a better idea of where we are with how much of these 3 projects we're going to need to move. Great. Thank you.
I just don't want to find out I got to eat a grilled cheese sandwich because you ate a steak and I was wanting a hamburger.
I understand that.
Okay, the next item on the list is the sales tax reimbursements bond projects, Mr. Burnett.
And this is a FYI. There's no action required, but did want to let you know in the coming months, we'll be coming to you with some documents to help facilitate this effort of being able to receive the sales tax reimbursements from the state. What we will have is an agency agreement, which is attached, and then we'll do a deed transfer on the properties from those properties that are in the boards of education's name to the Board of County Commissioners. And that will need to be approved by the Board of Education and approved by the Board of County Commissioners.
You need a motion?
It's FYI.
FYI.
Okay, next thing is the Parkwood High School Stadium light replacement.
So this project is going to occur in January with the eventual approval of this bid. The stadium lights at Parkwood High School are currently, it's amazing when you look at the foot candle readout, on the stadium. They go as low as 7.21, if I remember correctly. The design that we're replacing with is 40-foot candles, an average of 40-foot candles. It will be a stark difference, from what they see currently. The average, again, we're looking at an average of 40-foot candles. The range is between 30 and 50 for this size stadium. The Musco Sports Lighting provided a price through the NJPA cooperative purchase, and that price was $198,500 to retrofit the existing fixtures. And that's with LED fixtures, and $4,000 for signed and sealed drawings. So it's a total price of $202,500. And again, that is $72,500 below the budget, and that's the number that we had identified as savings with the Monroe Middle School project.
So you're saying that Parkwood's going to be 4 times brighter after the new lighting?
It was an average of about 10-foot candles across that field.
Well, does this team this year get a do-over next year?
I think it might be a home field advantage. I'm not sure.
Well, I had a
Especially if they don't have a passing game. If they're running game, it's a home field advantage.
I did a little reading on the North Carolina High School Athletic Association's website last night to look at foot candles. And it actually said 30-foot candles was the recommendation for practice fields with little or no seating. I'm assuming this is not a practice field with little or no seating. So it said that the recommendation, according to the North Carolina High School Athletic Association, is 50-foot candles for a football stadium with spectator seating. So I was just curious why we were not, I mean, I know, obviously, if they've got 7.2 today, to go to,
Yeah, so we did
so
get
I'm not
pricing.
sure what you were saying, but if I can finish that. Okay, so my question was, if this is not a practice field, and if this is a regular football stadium with spectator seating, is your recommendation 40-foot candles or the North Carolina High School Athletic Association's average of 50-foot candles?
Pricing, I think.
What it's saying right here,
Pricing is 400,000 for 50-foot candles.
To take it to 40-foot candles.
Right, because I think because the
It has to do with
50-foot.
it has to do use existing poles. It has to do with the pole height. If you go down lower, you get 50 candles. So that's kind of where that difference comes from.
So this is wrong, it needs to be 50?
No,
No,
well, the farther up you go with the lights, the
Uh-huh.
less lumens or foot candles you get to
right.
the field. So these poles are probably
Am I
higher than what they
reading
should
this
be.
wrong? This retrofit would bring the lighting to
To 40,
40-foot
that's right.
candles.
And there's a quote on here to bring it to 50-foot candles, but you're replacing the poles. You have to put new poles in.
So we're not going to take it
It's
to
just a
50-foot
retrofit.
candles.
We're going to use the existing poles and put the LEDs on it.
So they're lower.
They're probably higher than what they
Right.
should be.
no, you said the higher, it takes more light, right?
Yeah, because you're farther away from the
Uh-huh.
light source.
The distance.
Mr. Burnett, can we not use the existing poles
We
and not
are.
put
We
the,
are
but-
using the
but
existing
not put
poles.
the lights at the top, mount them halfway?
well, it also has to do with how far they are away from the
This is
field.
40.
We're taking it
So
to 40.
the,
But the North Carolina High School Association is 50.
the center poles are behind the grandstands, and on the home side, that's even further back, and so you have to take that into account also. So yeah, actually, the information that we're looking at, and that actually referenced that North Carolina High School Association had a range of 30 to 50.
Well, it was 30 for the practice field.
Yeah.
With little or no seating, but this stadium does have
I see
seating.
it. Yeah.
So actually the recommendation is 50. So I just wanted to verify, the confusion between page 1 and page 2. The recommendation was 40. Page 2 did quote 50. So I just want to know which one are we doing?
Well, we were doing 40. Now, we
Okay.
did get a price to do 50 on the existing poles. It was an
Mhm.
additional, basically $50,000. And we weren't, trying to save money on the project. We really were working with the manufacturer who had recommended the 40-foot candle level, that was going to be the most cost effective and way to go. And we had agreed. But if the board wants to go 50-foot candles, we do have a price for that. We can do that.
And it's still in budget.
And it's still in budget.
I agree. If the North Carolina High Schools Association says 50 and we can stay in budget at 50, then do 50.
Now,
How
I
many of
would-
our school stadiums have 50-foot candles?
I would doubt it.
None.
Yeah.
But I guess my only concern was that we said
It's
that
really
we were
bright.
doing what was recommended by the North Carolina Association, but we're not.
We thought there
I
was
mean,
a
I
range.
understand that you got the advice and
Right.
that they said 40 would be okay, but I don't think it's a fair statement that we're doing what it is not fair to say that we're doing what the North Carolina High School Association recommended, because they recommend 50.
So what we could do, if you're good at 40, we can rephrase that to
Mhm.
say that the range is 34 practice and it's 50, and we're proposing 40.
We're
And
proposing
if
40.
they have an issue, we can do something about that.
Well, I guess my question is, are we going to do 40 at Sun Valley when we move the stadium, or 50?
I would assume 50.
Yeah, and haven't gotten into that design.
But you
just
see what
yet.
I'm saying?
Agree.
I'm
And
just trying to
standards.
forward think.
Standards. Yeah, we want to have standards.
I mean, and because it said that we were doing what they recommended, I was like, oh, let me see what they recommend. And so when I saw that they recommended 50,
Right.
I just wanted to qualify and
I
have
guess
the
I don't read
discussion. How did we determine 40?
I don't read it that way. I read that he's saying that the average of the 10, that the on average of 10-foot candles is far less than the standards recommended by the North Carolina High School Association. I don't see him saying that that the 40 candles is recommended by. I think what I read it is that what's there right now is far less than what they recommend. That's how
Okay.
I read it.
To both of you ladies,
If that had not been in there, though, I wouldn't have looked up to see what the standard was.
I say we let the well, we got to anyway. I say we let the full board make the decision.
Well, we have
Oh.
to make a recommendation.
It's 3 times, 4 times brighter.
I make a motion that we go with the 40, but I would ask Mr. Burnett to bring the supporting explanation
It's in.
about the
It's
50.
not like we hid it. It's in here.
I know, I'm just saying, some of the people, the board members may glaze over something.
I agree. We should have this discussion at the full board.
Okay,
And I think, Sun Valley is going to be a topic of conversation with the new stadium. And, if we do 40 at Parkwood and then Sun Valley gets 50 or whatever, it will come back. This conversation will come back around.
Right. Yeah, and I have to say that knowing what 50-foot candles looks like, I'm kind of surprised, that we would have 50-foot candles on a football field.
Well, and I would also add to Mr. Burnett's point, he mentioned the word standard. So I agree. When Sun Valley comes up, we have to remember this conversation for a recommendation. More importantly, if none of our existing stadiums have 50-foot candles now, and we do 50-foot candles at Parkwood, are we then going to say we're going to go and do this across the entire county so that every stadium has 50-foot candles? So we're just trying to get some consistent standards and help the Parkwood.
but will this new lighting not save a lot of money?
This would, the LED lighting is more efficient. And
That's what I'm saying. We're spending money, but I've always heard it costs a fortune to turn the lights on at a sports field at night. And if we go with a lot lower voltage, we're investing now, but we're going to get it back in short term.
Danny, did you have anything?
I just wanted to say that with the 50-foot candles, with the initial lumens, HID, as you all know, they start out much higher. They start at 70, 80-foot candles, and then they come down to the 50, 40 range. So with LED, they're much less likely to have that initial decrease in lumens, and they're going to hold that standard more often. The other point I just wanted to point out with research with Musco and going through this whole project is another reason why we're going with the 40-foot candles was the 50-foot candles on the existing poles. We're going to have to make sure that the poles are structurally sound and good to go for the additional lighting to hold that 50-foot candles. We're solid on the 40-foot candles with existing poles. And so that's why.
So then you're looking, if the existing poles aren't structurally sound enough to hold them, then we're looking at $400,000 for 50 foot.
That's correct. I just didn't want it to be that, oh, it's just a few more $1,000 and then we can do it. We very well may not be able to do that without replacing the poles.
Yeah, I think we should have a discussion about it before board. Okay, so we need a motion.
I make the motion. Yeah.
To go with the recommendation of the 40-foot candles. Okay,
I'll second.
those in favor? Okay, and that's a recommendation to the full board. Okay, surplus equipment.
Surplus equipment, we've got a list that's has been identified to be auctioned on gov.deals. We can go through that list. It's got the child nutrition equipment, facilities. And I think that was it this time.
Okay, that's just an FYI item. Construction update.
Another FYI item, we've got a sheet that is listing all the major projects that are underway. I guess probably highlights that the Walter Bickett Elementary School additions, renovations, we've received the BNP pond certification. So that project is well on its way to being closed out. I think we've approved the final pay application on that. Forest Hills Auto Classroom, that That's well under construction. That's probably, 4 to 8 weeks away from being completed. I was in it the other day. It's got a roof's underway. The structure's up, the walls are up. And it certainly looks like you can tell everything that's going to be happening with it.
The new STEM lab at Monroe Middle School looks great.
Good. They had their ceremony yesterday.
Yes,
And hopefully that was all well received.
it was.
And that's, phase one. So we'll be, as we mentioned, the architect's contract was approved last month. We had a kickoff meeting last week, I believe, with the architects to get that design effort underway.
When do you anticipate the New Salem project to be completed? It's starting in October. When do you think that might be?
The
Estimated.
wastewater, so that has a January 5th contract completion date,
Okay.
but it is ahead of schedule. We're hoping that hopefully by the 1st of December that might be fully functional. And maybe the contractor can even beat that. We'll see.
Mr. Burnett, just to give you a heads up, I believe the Prospect sewage treatment plant is on this year's CIP. When it comes in, I would like to know, it's 1/5 the cost of New Salem. I would like to know the capacities versus, I'd like to know what the difference
Okay.
is.
Yeah. Why is it 1/5 the cost? Okay.
Right. And the schools basically have the same population.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Next item is the building zoning permit information. That is also just an FYI. And then that takes us to the additions to the agenda, the request from the CAC. So for purposes of our discussion here, they would like an updated list of the mobile classrooms at each of the schools. So we have the list. We talked about that. If we could just get it updated.
Would that be that are being used as classrooms?
The list that we got in like January had how they were being used. I know that Walter Bickett, all their MCRs are gone, so that would be a deletion from the list. But yes, it would be nice to know if they're using them or not using them and how, if they're
What the
being
function
used.
is.
I think that that's what they wanted to see. They also wanted, for purposes of, I don't know if this is a facilities discussion, but the 20-day numbers by school and by grade, and I'll send all this by email. They're still waiting for transportation comments, and they want ridership numbers by school, if we could do it, or by cluster at least. They want to know what's going on with the bond projects, which is probably not a discussion until after we have our joint meeting with the county commissioners on November 20th. And grandfathering, which is being taken up the policy committee. So I think that is it. Did I miss anything from all of you who were there last night? Okay. Okay, so Dennis, update from the safety committee.
Okay. At the last safety committee, Jared was talking about trying to get the bidirectional transponders, which are necessary at 15 schools because there's dead zones for fire, rescue, and sheriff or school resource officers radio communications. I spoke to the vice chair of the commissioners, and he was going to add it to the agenda for Monday night and speak to Curtis Teague about it. Curtis Teague was notified, I think, early into the meeting that his father or his mother passed away, so they pulled it off. But my biggest thing there is last year it was such a need, and now it's like nobody's picking it up. Plus, I think we're in an expanding, a good economy, and I just can't see anything being cheaper in 6 months than it would be today. So, and the county is paying for this. I would just like for us to be as adamant about getting it in as we were adamant about getting funding for it.
I can talk with Jared and, find out what he can do to help push it along. Everything is in their shop in terms of bidding it out and getting the specs and everything, but we
Right.
can kind of gently push.
And I realize Curtis's mother died, but just like to get it done. Christmas break would be a good time, maybe for, I know it's pretty fast the way I see how things have to work, but it would be nice if we could get it in during one of our breaks or start on it.
Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.